Cologne's Rose Monday parade is once again taking a satirical swipe at some of the big figures making the news headlines globally. According to Associated Press, every year, floats address current national and global political issues with biting sarcasm. A total of 19 floats will travel through the western city of Cologne on March 3, according to organizers. This year's carnival comes just 1 week after the country's national elections, with 2 floats based on the election still being worked on. One float shows U.S. President Donald Trump balancing the globe on his outstretched middle finger and holding the Statue of Liberty and Lady Justice on leashes. A float entitled "Love Greetings from Moscow" shows AfD, Alternative for Germany, co-leader Alice Weidel and BSW chairwoman Sahra Wagenknecht sitting in a suitcase filled with money, supposedly from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Church abuse will also be brought up again, a priest's hand sticking out of a confessional and trying to lure an altar boy inside. National train delays will be symbolized by a skeleton waiting for a train on a platform. Shrove Monday parades are a traditional high point of carnival celebrations in Cologne, Düsseldorf, Mainz and other places in western Germany, drawing large crowds of locals and visitors.
Super, vielen Dank.
Die Grundidee ist eigentlich nur eine Beschreibung der derzeitigen Weltlage, also beziehungsweise dessen, was uns erwarten würde, wenn Donald Trump Präsident werden würde. Denn die Idee ist ja entstanden noch vor der Wahl und letztendlich zeichnet sich jetzt ab, was ich damals mir schon als Gedanken gemacht habe.
Die politische Situation erlaubt es uns eben nicht, dass wir uns nur um uns selbst drehen, sondern wir müssen dann internationale und nationale Themen aufgreifen. Und das macht dann so ein Wagen politisch und ein Zug dann dementsprechend auch.
On a day when the war in Ukraine took center stage in Washington, at the United Nations, and in capitals overseas, a bipartisan panel of lawmakers on Capitol Hill urged the U.S. Trump administration to stand with Ukraine and against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Instead of doing Russia's job for it, as we did today, we must deal Russia a definitive strategic defeat, one that serves as a clear warning to all who would break international law and commit war crimes, said Democratic Representative Steny Hoyer, a member of the Congressional Ukraine caucus. Over and over again, what Putin is doing is trying to recreate the failed Soviet Union, said Republican Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina. He's not going to stop at Ukraine. According to Associated Press, in a win for Ukraine on the third anniversary of Russia's invasion, the UN General Assembly on Monday adopted 2 resolutions calling for an end to the war, while rejecting a US draft that never mentioned Moscow's aggression. Instead, both resolutions make clear Russia was the aggressor. The United States, reflecting the extraordinary turnaround under President Donald Trump, joined Russia in voting against a Europe-backed Ukrainian resolution. The US then abstained from voting on its own resolution after Europeans succeeded in amending it. It was a setback for the Trump administration in the 193-member world body, whose resolutions are not legally binding but are seen as a barometer of world opinion. The voting at the UN took place as Trump hosted French President Emmanuel Macron in Washington. In Ukraine, Kyiv is marking the bleakest anniversary yet of its war against the Russia invasion. The 3-year milestone drew more than a dozen Western leaders to Kyiv for commemorative events in a conspicuous show of support. Hours after the anniversary observances, Trump said Russian President Vladimir Putin would accept European peacekeepers in Ukraine as part of a potential deal to end the war.
We allow Putin's aggression to succeed, you can double our defense budget, and you'll invite more bloodshed. This we cannot do. I'm glad this is a bipartisan group. It must be, it has to be for us to succeed, to convince us that the ultimate victory remains territorial integrity, security assurances, rebuilding Ukraine, not subsidizing Putin.
This past weekend, as the world hopes and works for peace in Ukraine, dictator Putin launched 267 of Russia's largest drones against all regions of Ukraine, the largest strikes since the war began. Freedom lovers across our nation and world bow their heads in awe of the courageous, long-suffering people of Ukraine. We feel and see their hankering for liberty. We see how hard their patriots fight back.
Over and over again, what Putin is doing is trying to recreate the failed Soviet Union. He's not going to stop at Ukraine, and so it's just so important, and I take that personally as peace through strength. And so the best way to protect American families is to stop the dictators overseas, to protect and promote freedom around the world by having our allies stand firm to provide peace through strength. Thank you.
Last week, the anchor of the largest show on Russian state media said gleefully, "We wanted to saw the Western world into pieces. But Trump decided to saw it through himself." Trump is now doing our job, our being Russia, our job for us. That's what this administration is doing. And shamefully, inexplicably, America sided with a nation, Russia, that has committed war crimes by invading with no justification Ukraine. And I pray, Joe, I pray that is not the position of the Congress of the United States. Instead of doing Russia's jobs for it, as we did today, we must deal Russia a definitive strategic defeat, one that serves as a clear warning to all who would break international law and commit war crimes.